Wow, 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 wow. Absolutely amazing, Plarium. You've created one of Raid's biggest problem in the form of an almost unbeatable boss for most players, but only to address it with a 10x event that has some of the right champions to do this, literally acting as your own savior. Good one. Absolutely good one. But the question is it worth for you to pull the shards for this 10x event? And a much bigger question is, which type of shards are you going to use? Which of these champions are actually a good option for you to build to do this, but also maybe to keep using for something else on your account? So I want to quickly go over that in today's video. Let's get right to it. Quick note before I get started that I will be doing a special stream today for New World, probably even tonight, maybe a split stream of some kind. I want to cover this game. I've been talking about it for a very long time, and I want to see if you guys enjoy this, if you want to see me make content on this game. So join me on stream. Also, you can play. You can go on their Steam store page, and you can request open beta access. It will allow you to download the game and play for the next 3 days. This should be going live in roughly an hour if my time zones are correct. So I hope to see you guys there. So day number 4 of the fusion. Hopefully you guys are still on track. It's been relatively easy so far for the events and tournaments. Right now we have a champion training tournament, which I'm going to say the milestones are relatively low. Therefore, I would suggest you try and get both of them. All right, compared to the previous fusions, they're fairly easy to achieve. As for the actual events in the game right now, artifact, you have one more day to complete this, but make sure you still have enough silver saved up for the other one. It's kind of tempting to build more champions right now because of Bommal, but again, be careful if you don't have enough silver, right? And then for the dungeon divers, we have one more day to finish this. Should be relatively easy to do. So as for the updated plan, all the recent values are in here. We now know it's a 10x event for this summon rush, and then it's going to be probably a 2x void event for the champion chase tournament. So that is obviously going to affect which type of shards we are going to open, but we'll get back to that in a second. The second thing I want to point out again is that there's going to be 20 fragments from the summon rush. So we've rarely seen this. Typically we have about only 10 fragments for the summon rush, and the milestones were lower. But now that they're doing 20, and because they pushed up the difficulty since the last fusion, I would assume it's going to be different, maybe even one more higher milestone for the 10 fragments. It might be a 5, and a 10. So again, we don't know how this is going to play out, but obviously if you want to push and get more fragments in here, then you're going to have to probably sacrifice something else. So I usually say that choose one. Push in the summon rush, but don't push in the champion chase, or push in the chase and don't push in the summon rush. But because this 10x is now so important, I would assume most players are going to push for this. Therefore, for the champion chase, if it is a 2x avoid, I would do the fusions like I typically do. I have a Broadma and a Gomlok Skyhide ready to go, so that's 850 points. And then I would finish that with probably avoid shards. But that's just me. What I want to cover here real quick is what you should be doing. Everybody's account is going to be different. Do you have issues with Bommal right now? Then sure, try to pull for these champions, but there are also other champions you might already have that you can use for this, so don't be baited into this 10x to go all in and then only hurt yourself to not be able to complete the fusion. So let's check that out now. So the 10x event has Gurgo the Augur, which is a great AoE freeze champion. Then we have Shirimani, another great AoE freeze champion, but those are legendaries and one is a void legendary, so very unlikely that you're going to get him unless you know your void stacks are up there. I would not pull the voids unless I exactly know where my stacks are, right? So that's number one. For Shirimani and even Samar Gem Curse and Vizier Ovalis, I mean, sure, you might get a legendary. Again, are your stacks up there for either your ancient shards or your sacred shards? That is something you need to consider. And although Shirimani is a great option for the AoE freeze, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to beat Bommal, right? Same thing with Vizier Ovalis. You still need the decreased accuracy to extend that to make it a little bit easier, maybe also extend the poisons. So Vizier is great, really useful elsewhere. Shirimani, not that much. Same thing with Samar Gem Curse. We all know he can solo hard 90, but he's a very niche champion that you're not going to use elsewhere. So you're kind of gambling on the fact that I might get one of these three, and then it still doesn't guarantee that I'm going to be able to beat the boss, right? Exemplar, Enoch, Sachi, and Burengiri. Burengiri is great for up to floor 50, even on the hard Doom Tower with endgame gear, but I don't think he's accessible for to have the right gear, sorry, to beat 90. So I would not count on this guy. As for Sachi, AoE, A1, decreased accuracy. There are other champions that can do this. I'll show you in a second. And then there is Anox, probably one of my favorite for this. I would really love to have Anox. When I look at this right here, in my opinion, Anox is the best in this 10x event because he's also useful against the clan boss if you don't have another good poisoner. So with that decreased accuracy on a 3-turn cooldown for 3 turns, it should make it relatively easy for you to go down that route. Okay, so between all of this, I would say Samar Gem Curse being probably number 2 because he can solo, and then Anox being my number 1. But here are the other options to help you decide which shards to open. Okay, so here's a list of all the decreased accuracy champions. We're going to also remove real quick here the magic champions. I don't think you should work with those personally. It's just gonna have too much RNG. So then we look at the leftover champions. We have 3 legendaries. Warlim, I mean, apparently can work, but you might need Vizier. Kancha the Cyclone, very RNG because the decreased accuracy is on her a 2, sorry. And you're fighting with the other debuffs, so you might not get the decreased accuracy, even though it's a 75% chance and it's every hit for 3 of them. So my personal favorite in the legendaries is Yoshi. I made it work with this champion. I committed to building this champion, but I would still try and get Anox, because if you bring at least 2 decreased accuracy champions and you put them in deflection sets, they act as your bombers at the same time. So you almost guarantee you're going to have decreased accuracy. It would make it a lot easier. If I decide not to build or I don't get Anox, then yeah, you can work with some of the other ones. For example, Sachi, which is on that 10x event. I already have it, right? So I can somewhat get by with this. Then we have a Gorlos Helma, which is not on a 10x event. If you guys have this guy already, it's a 4-turn cooldown, but it is for 3 turns decreased accuracy and 100% chance of placing it. So you might not need any of those champions, all right? So keep that in mind. And then as for the other ones, none of them are really impressive except for maybe Lich, which is relatively accessible, part of the fusion for Rosin. If you already have this champion, you have the decreased accuracy on the A1. It's only a 50% chance, but at least it's on the A1, so if you keep spamming that, you might be lucky enough to land this. And if you have a secondary decreased accuracy champion, it might be good enough, right? So don't be tempted to go all in for that. If you have Lich, you can keep trying that. Sylar would be great, not on the 10x event. I don't have her, but I would definitely use her. I tried using Padma, which I have, but it's only a 50% chance of placing the decreased accuracy for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. It never worked out for me. I didn't like it. I prefer Yoshi, but I get that Yoshi is a legendary. But then we go down to the rare champions. All right, let me remove here real quick the rarities, and let's just work with the rares for a second. Okay, so in here, there's at least 2 champions that I think you guys could be using for this. My personal favorite right now would be Dilgal. I don't have him. Apparently, I burnt him. I didn't keep a copy, but this guy has on a 3-turn cooldown for 2 turns decreased accuracy, and it's on each hit. So it's 75% on each hit. A pretty good chance you're going to land this. But on top of that, this guy has decreased speed on the A1, and then we also have decreased defense. So 3 debuffs in a deflection set. I think this guy would be absolutely amazing, right? So if you already have Dilgal, maybe don't pull for this, is what I'm saying. And finally, there's also Doom Screech, which has on the A1 a decreased accuracy. Some players are saying it's on each hit. It's not worded that way, and if it's not, then it's only 40% chance of placing decreased accuracy. So Lich might be a little bit better than this guy, but overall you can work with Doom Screech. Okay, so these are the really important champions right now, in my opinion. So now the question is, which shards are you going to open? For me, it would probably be the sacred shards first. In a summon rush, you have a better value at opening sacred shards than you do the ancient shards, right? Because each ancient shard is only 20 points, whereas the sacred shard, whether you get a legendary or not, is 500 points. Whereas when you do it on a champion chase, it's 250 points, right? So might as well get more points for your shards opened. And because I have a decent amount here, and I can easily push relatively high in this summon rush and probably get some legendary tomes at the same time. We all know how the milestones are broken down, and there's some pretty good rewards at the end of a summon summon rush, right? So by doing that, I get a lot of points. I'm able to get all the fragments, and then I increase my odds probably of getting epics because it's either all epics or a legendary. So I would say go for that if you have a lot of extra sacred shards. On top of that, I now don't really use my sacred shards unless it's a 10x event to get very specific champions, and in this case, that's exactly it. I think Anox or maybe Samar Gem Curse or even Vizier Ovalis would be great for my account, so I'm probably going to do that first. If you don't have enough, then obviously work with the ancient shards, but I would strongly suggest you don't do the void shards right now, because we're going to have the 2x void event starting next week. Your void shards are much better spent during that event. We all need more S tier void legendaries, therefore don't waste them on a 10x that has only a Gurgle the Augur, because he's great, but I would assume there are a lot better void legendaries for just about everybody. Okay, so obviously it also depends on which or how many you have of each. You might need to open some of all of them to get to the milestones for the fusion, right? But just don't forget to take into account how many points you're going to need for the champion chase tournament. And here's a rough estimation as what you might need. So if you do a fusion of Broadma and you summon a legendary, that's 850 points. So then I would only need, assuming I get decent pulls, 15 to 20 void shards to finish the champion chase. So I'm able to do both of them. I can push for the summon rush and the chase tournament, but obviously I would love to not have to do that. I would rather save perhaps some shards for a little bit later. So it's entirely up to you guys. But because of the champions that are on this list and the ones that we need for Bommal and the ones you might already have, just be careful on which shards you decide to open. So hopefully that helps you guys decide. Do let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you surprised by this 10x, right? Anyway, all that said, I will see you guys in the next video.